Hello, welcome to my talk on levelling up in your career by teaching others. To start off with, hi, I'm Emma. My pronouns are she, her, and I've been a software engineer in the tech industry for around 3 years, currently working for Twitter. I love all things front end, web accessibility, and I'm also a massive advocate for getting more women into tech. Yeah, at uni I studied digital media, and so with no computer science degree, I've self-taught a lot, and that's what kind of drove my passion to helping others who are in the same position that I was 3 years ago. And it's also what inspired my talk today. I'm really excited to be here with you all. So as a community, we are constantly advocating for others to learn to code. You know, there are so many free resources out there for beginners, and it's amazing. You know, we all like to learn, right? That's why we're here at this conference. However, we rarely talk about the huge benefits to being on the other side of that as the teacher. I'm hoping to empower and encourage you all to get involved in teaching, whether that be to a class of students, industry professionals like yourselves, or just with your peers over the next 15 minutes. So where did it all start for me? Like I said, I've been a software engineer for the past 3 years. And around a year ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, I took a vow to myself to do more things that scared me. This talk definitely being one of them. And I sent off an application to a social enterprise which was set up to teach women how to code. I wanted to be a volunteer instructor for them for their Introduction to Web Development course, which spanned across about 8 weeks. I was terrified. But now, today, I've roughly taught over 100 women to code, and I've also spent time mentoring some of these women as well. And I've loved every single minute. And do you know what? I'm just so proud of what they've all achieved and how I've been able to see them grow. And not only that, but in this past year is when me personally, I've seen the most growth in myself. When I took that leap, and sent off my application, I had absolutely no idea the ripple effect that it was going to have. And I know what you're thinking. Life and work gets in the way. I'm too busy. I just don't have the time, Emma. And I get it. I'm not saying that you have to get involved in teaching an 8-week course. That's not the point that I'm trying to make here. But even setting up some kind of brunch and learn at work so that there's that open space for discussion is a start. And the truth is, you're probably already doing some form of teaching without realizing it, or you're at least exposed to opportunities for teaching in your current work schedule. If you've ever posted an answer to Stack Overflow, technically you have taught someone something, but it just might not have felt that way at the time. Or, if you've learned some really cool tech on the weekend and then you come in Monday morning, you just offload to all of your colleagues about what you've just spent time learning. You've just taught them something. You learned it on the weekend and you've come in on the Monday and you've taught it to them. So if you can identify these opportunities and use them as a means for growth, you'll visibly see the rewards. It could be mentoring at work, content creation, writing documentation, or just presenting at some kind of, form of knowledge sharing event. Demos are great, but personally, I feel like they're more of a format of show and tell. I think if you refocus your presentation slot into teaching your audience about something that they don't know about, can really help you both. It opens up that space for discussion, and most importantly, growth on both parts. But I'm not an expert. I think the most common misconception that we have is that to be a teacher, you must be an expert. I don't teach because I think I'm an expert by any means. It's because I learn so much in the process. We've seen a rise in the popularity of learning in public with the likes of Twitch live coding streams and things like that. And the reason why so many people find this idea so terrifying is because you're opening yourself up to that critique from others, from the people that are watching you, the worry that you might not have all of the answers to their questions. But if you're sat there asking yourself, how do I know if I can teach this topic? The answer is you can. I don't fully believe that you've truly learned something until you've taught it to someone else, because to teach a subject requires such a deeper level of understanding for it. I think one of the biggest fears that we have is those dreaded questions, But actually, if someone asks you a question, right, and you don't know what the answer is, that can be a good thing. You've just identified a gap in your knowledge that you can now go and work on to improve. How great is that, right? If you've not taught this session, you may have never found out that you were missing that key bit of information that you can now go and use. And then on the flip side, it's also an opportunity for you to demonstrate your knowledge, right? Show off what you know, become that expert. This will do wonders for your confidence, right? If you take me as an example, my ability to give this talk is fueled by my growth in confidence from spending time weekly delivering content to 30 women. And not only that, but it will also help you fight off that imposter syndrome. You've just taught them something that they didn't know. Yeah, you've helped someone else to upskill. You did that. That's pretty amazing, right? And the truth is, you're not just helping yourself and those around you, but it's also going to improve your communication in your day job, because their questions may not be down to a gap in your knowledge. It may be down to the way you're communicating. And so instead of explaining things in a way like, you do this and then that and move this over here so this can access that, right? It's confusing, you lose track, and it can be pretty overwhelming if the person that you're talking to has absolutely no idea what this and that is, right? Instead, through teaching, you can learn to refine and master your explaining techniques, referring to implementation details with correct technical terms. That way, they can listen, pick up on the things that they don't know, and then they can further go and research it if they're unsure. And the bit that's key is they now know what to Google. We often say that as a junior, the hardest thing to master is knowing what to Google. But you see what's happening here, you've just taught them, but you're both benefiting from it. And not only that, but if you explain things or over-explain things, or ramble, your students will lose interest pretty quickly and you will know about it. This will help you to learn to be concise when communicating with others, also very quickly. Another skill which transfers directly into the workplace. But, something else you might be thinking is, but am I too much of an expert? And by that, I mean, maybe you feel you're too senior to be teaching juniors, or you feel your time is better spent, invested elsewhere for your own personal growth. But actually, as a leader, your job is to inspire, right? And you get to be inspired too. That is the best thing I get from teaching code. It's, the excitement and passion I see bubbling up out of them for the ability to just build cool things, and their imaginations run wild. It gets me excited. It motivates and it inspires me, and it also reminds me why I do what I do, and it gives me that extra drive. And it makes me want to learn new things, because learning new things is so exciting. And it reminds me of that. If you're a person who has influence, then important changes within your workplace can begin with you. And, if you start teaching, other people want to teach, and then everyone around can reap the rewards. Your teammates are your collaborators, they're not your competitors. If we encourage sharing knowledge and teaching each other, I guarantee that your team will be much more successful. And it will just be a better environment to work in as well. But you can also push yourself outside of your comfort zone and get involved in teaching external to your company. And this will help you to build out your network. Meeting with people who have similar interests and experiences helps you to feel part of that community. And the power of a community is truly incredible. You know, someone may be like, oh, you know, thanks so much for teaching me about this. Have you ever thought about this aspect? Or have you ever done a course or a class on this piece of tech? And you might be like, no, I haven't, but I do know somebody else who has. You then put them in touch with the person that you know. They'll then do the same next time you're looking for help or advice. Plus, you never know where people may be working in the future or who may be looking for a job when your company is hiring. And having these connections is great, especially the connections with those in the beginning of their career. And that's because I think that investing time in juniors is one of the best things that you can do. And that's because of two reasons. So one, helping juniors is incredibly rewarding. Because do you know what? Learning is hard, right? And it can be overwhelming, especially as a junior. You know, you're either a junior right now or you've all been a junior at some point in your life. Like, do you remember how hard it was? But when you witness them write their first hello world, like, that is so exciting. And seeing your students go from never having opened a code editor to building a fully fledged website is like, it just makes you absolutely burst with pride. And two, when you invest in juniors, you make an impact on them. You know, we spoke earlier about inspiring and motivating people. And when it comes to the time that your company is hiring, you now have access to all of this incredible junior talent, and they will remember the time that you invested in them. And not only that, but experience teaching beginners can help you to foster this collaborative working environment in the workplace. You know, we encourage beginners to ask questions and remind them that no question is too stupid. But then why do so many of us feel so apprehensive when you ask these kinds of questions, same kinds of questions in the workplace? In the same way that some of us are so confident and feel comfortable enough teaching outside of the work, but when you then bring that same teaching opportunity into the confines of our office, people lose all that confidence. Why do you think that is? It's because we've been made to feel that way in a certain kind of environment. And, you know, in a learning environment like a classroom, we feel very different. But as we spend more time engaging in these kinds of environments, you know, where collaboration and knowledge sharing is encouraged, failing is normalized, taking risks is encouraged, we'll then begin to apply that same attitude into the workplace too. And most importantly, these juniors and beginners that you're investing your time in now are our future leaders, right? And our future teachers. The long-term gains are there as well. So how can I get involved? There are so many different ways, but I'm just going to leave you with a few here. So you could get involved in mentoring, be that at work or within a community. You could start blogging. You know, when you learn something new, write a blog post about it. Something someone told me is that we blog for ourselves more than we blog for other people, right? Like putting our thoughts down and explaining what we've learned to someone else helps us to clarify our own knowledge. And then also you could set up a brunch and learn at work, right? If there's one there, sign up to share something that you've learned recently, no matter how big or small. Or like I said, yeah, if there's not one there, set it up. Be that person to start it off at your company. And the key bit of that is that it becomes part of your day and your colleagues' day. So it's not something that you then have to do extra outside of your working hours. Or if you don't want to teach alone as well, because that can be terrifying, you can also get involved with teaching alongside other people, which is even better because you learn from your students and your other instructors. You know, there's even more people to learn from. But that's what places like Code First Girls offer. You can teach alongside 2 or 3 other instructors, and they also provide all of the resources that you need. So the preparation for those kinds of things are pretty minimal, but it is a longer term commitment. And then there's also charities like Code Bar, where you can sign up to become a coach, and they'll place you on one of their workshops. That's a really great community to be a part of. There's also loads of others out there, so these are just a couple that I've personally been involved with. But if you know of something great that I'm also missing out on, please do let me know and get in contact with me. But on that note, thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you to Josh and Harry and All Day Hey for having me. I love meeting new people and chatting, so if anybody fancies a chat with me, then please reach out to me on Twitter @BritnorCodes, or drop me an email. Otherwise, thank you.